Okay, folks, what's going on with you guys out there? I figured that I would make a video going over Apple's latest event. I think there's a lot of good things in there that really show potential for the future of Apple computers and people who use their computers. So, I guess the keynote started out with them, boasting their numbers and their stores like they always do. But the first product that they decided to go over was iLife 11, and maybe we can make a separate video about that when I get the product in. I'm not really going to sit here and go over every little thing that I liked about the new iLife. I think iMovie had a lot of great things in it that's going to make movie editing even easier and better, and the quality will go up. And when I look around the industry, and I think anybody who's editing home movies, what alternatives are they? I mean, when you get a Mac, you get this for free, or you can get it for $50 if you didn't get it with your Mac. What other editing software out there for $50 can you get that is this good and this easy to use? There is none. Apple really has cornered the market. They own the market when it comes to this kind of thing. And unless you step up to a more professional type of application, there just really is no alternatives. What are you going to do? Go cut your movie on Movie Maker in Windows? Well, good luck with that. Because I guarantee you, no matter how easy you think Movie Maker is, iMovie would be 3 times easier, smoother, and just faster to learn. And probably more features. I know the UI is definitely prettier on iLife than Movie Maker and such, and a lot of people want to say, "Oh, that don't make no difference." It does make a difference. A good, sleek, clean UI not only improves your performance and speed, but it improves your productivity. So a good, decent UI is important. And when I compare UIs on like iMovie to Movie Maker, there really is no comparison. So there's no need for me to sit here and dwell on all the features and things that iMovie has or iPhoto has, because as far as options, there is none. It wouldn't matter if iLife hadn't added any new features. It would still be the bee's knees of home video editing for consumers, for normal, average, everyday consumers. And it just don't seem like Microsoft or anybody else, Google especially, is interested in that category. And that's fine. I guess they're okay with letting Apple have it. But if Microsoft is going to have a Movie Maker application and a photo application, they need to stop doing it half-ass. They need to really put their shit behind it and get it done right and do it right, instead of just half-assing something, having it out there just so they can say they have it. This shit doesn't even come bundled with Windows. You have to go out and download it yourself. It just seems like everything that Microsoft is doing is a mistake. It's like they're making moves to stop from encumbering themselves. It's like, we're not going to bundle Movie Maker because shit, Windows 7 is already so big and bloated as it is. We're not going to include this shit. We're going to have to make people go download it. So they're doing things. They're cutting people's features out and stock applications out just to improve, I believe, the experience of Windows. And Apple isn't having to do that. They can add features and things all day long and not have to worry about making it too bloated or too big. So the main things that I guess were the attention getters at the keynote were the Mac OS X Lion and the new MacBook Air. Now, I'll make another video about Lion when it gets closer to release and more information is released about it, because I'm sure that they just barely showed us a tip of the iceberg when it comes to Lion. I'm sure it's going to have massive iOS integration, and I'm sure it's going to take a lot of UI cues from iOS, like the scroll bars and stuff I'm hearing that they're going to incorporate, and stuff like that. So I still think there's a lot to be done with 10.7, but I think 10.7 is just another evolutionary step into the new paradigm of computing that Apple has created, which is multi-touch. I think one of these days, within the next 5 years, maybe 5 years, 8 years, 5 years out, that we will have a touch iMac. I'm not sure how they'll implement it. I'm not sure how they'll do it. I'm not sure what OS it will use. If it will use both OSs and you switch between both of them, or if it will have an integrated desktop version of iOS that's powerful like a desktop, but we'll have the desktop iOS and we'll have mobile iOS. So I don't know how that's going to work, but I do know 10.7 is a definite progression towards modal computing. And when I say modal, I mean like in a browser when you have several tabs. That's modal browsing, so to speak. They got the full screen apps, which is going to be really a step towards great modal computing. As a matter of fact, out of all people you would expect, Gizmodo has a great article on Lion, and as much as it pains me to say it, I kind of agree with a lot they have to say about it. It really is the future. And when I see that mission control, which I think is a little, I don't know, a little overblown of a name, mission control, which it makes sense to me. It's mission control. I mean, you control everything from right there, but it just sounds a little bit NASA for me. You know, I mean, it seems like they could have come up with something a little more Apple-esque. But I guess a lot of people thought the same thing about the iPad when it was first released, and I guess that name will probably grow on me and everybody else. It just seems mission control seems a little Houston, we have a problem, you know? I don't know, but that's just a nitpick. I'm just nitpicking. You guys won't hear me nitpick at Apple much. But some of the features, like the App Store, I think this is the absolute biggest announcement that they made. An App Store is coming to the Mac. And anybody who's wondering if they're going to censor apps and do this and do that, I don't know. But Steve Jobs said that it was only going to be one way of getting your apps. You're still going to be able to get your apps the old-fashioned way. Go out to a website, download it. Developers are not going to have to go through the Mac App Store if they don't want to. They can release their app on their own website and let it download from there. Some developers will probably have apps on both. If Apple is kind of restrictive about what kind of content they allow on the Mac desktop App Store, maybe developers can throw their hat into the ring. Okay, they can throw their hat into the ring and put some applications on the Mac App Store that Apple approves. And if they have any applications that Apple won't approve, they can just load them right from their website. I mean, this is exactly what the Android users are screaming they want. They are having this is the I guess the blueprint that Apple is following for their desktop operating system. You know, we're not going to censor our desktop operating system. We're going to have a store that we're going to approve things like Google, but we're also going to let people make their own apps, uncensored apps, unfettered apps, and if you want to go out to them and get them and install them, you can. It's your risk. It's your computer. So Apple is taking that free, open, so to speak, philosophy from Google's Android, and they're applying it to their desktop app store, which is where it should be applied. The mobile space is totally different. I really like having these approved apps, and I don't have to worry about malicious apps getting my information. I mean, this is stuff I've always had to deal with on the desktop. It's nothing new. But I've never had to deal with it on a mobile device. And my mobile device is really almost more important to me as far as privacy is concerned, because it's with me every day. It's got my phone numbers and my contacts and my to-do lists, and I use it to make purchases, and I buy things on it, and my iTunes account's on it. So if that was hacked, it would almost be a bigger problem than if somebody got into my desktop. The desktop, I think, has a little bit more security in place. People have a little bit more wits about them when they're sitting at their desktop and they're not on the move halfway paying attention. I think the model that they're using for this Mac App Store is perfect for the desktop. I think they're going to have a wonderful, nice, curated Mac App Store. And I also think you're going to be able to get things the old-fashioned way, too. As far as CDs go, they're going away. They'll probably be around for the next few years, but the next refresh or two of the MacBooks will probably see them go away because they're bulky, they're heavy, they're clunky, and they take up space. I think the new MacBook Air that was announced is the future of Mac laptops. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's finish talking about Lion. As I said, this mission control, and it's going to let you do the full screen apps where you can switch between full screen apps where you're just like on the iPhone where the app takes over the whole screen and you're in that one app, single thought process. Okay, you can still multitask. Okay, just like you could probably go to Spaces, you can have a full screen app, go to Spaces and go to another space and have the desktop there and work on another app. I'm sure Spaces will still work with the full screen apps. At least I'm assuming they will. Maybe not, but I'm assuming they will. So people want to complain, oh, these full screen apps ain't no good. How am I going to drag and drop stuff between apps and stuff? Well, I'm sure Apple will work that out. I'm sure you're going to be able to switch between apps, even if one is full screen and one is not. Especially by the way they demonstrated Mission Control. You're going to be able to go into Mission Control and select which full screen app you want, and you can just go back and forth. It really is becoming an iOS paradigm. They're slowly inching our desktop towards the way that iOS works. And the power users may think that is a bad thing, but it's not. It is a good thing. Good thing for you and a good thing for them. When I say them, I mean the uneducated masses that don't understand this kind of thing, don't care about this kind of thing, and they just want their shit to work. This is a huge step. iTunes laid the foundation, 8 years ago for all of this. And ever since then, Apple has been slowly moving us towards this type of computing paradigm. Okay? And I think once the groundwork is laid and Lion is out and we see what's coming after Lion, we're really going to start to see the benefits of this new paradigm that Apple is introducing. It's not going to be any less powerful than the paradigm, than the type of desktop and computer you're using now. So don't get the illusion that Apple's taken away freedom or power, because everything is going to be just as powerful as it was. It's just a new paradigm in the way we're going to have to think about doing things. We're moving away from this old clunky type desktop, which people are in love with, people love and don't want to change. I mean, they've always said, if you want to piss people off, change things. It's that simple. People love to talk about change. They love to talk about change in the abstract, but they really, really don't like change when it comes down to it. They'll love to talk about, oh, we need change, we need this, and we need that. But when it comes down to people actually changing something, it pisses people off. Look at Dig, look at Facebook, look at Apple, look at anybody who's ever changed anything, people get pissed. And that's just part of it. Apple's moving us forward. It's old, it's outdated, and it's time for us to move on to something new, and I believe Apple is working on it. So all we need to do is follow them. When I look at the Mac App Store, the auto saves, the auto updates, say I've downloaded 100 apps from the Mac App Store, and I buy me a new Mac. I don't have to transfer all my shit over. All I got to do is load up the Mac App Store, and it will download all the apps I've ever bought before and install them on my machine. No transferring apps, no bullshit like that. I can see this making computing so much faster, more powerful, and easy for everybody. And Apple isn't stupid. In order to develop for the iPhone and the iPad, you have to have a Mac. So more than likely, if you can develop for the iPhone and iPad, you can develop for the Mac if you choose to. A lot of people who develop iPhone apps don't develop Mac apps, but that ain't because they don't know how. It's just because they don't. Now that we have this Mac Store, this Mac App Store, we have tens of thousands of potential iOS developers becoming Mac developers. Now this is where the real power lies. This is where the real game plan comes into play that Apple's been laying. They knew that if you want to develop for the iPhone, you're going to have to use a Mac. They've known this was coming. I refuse to believe anything else. Now that they've got all these hundreds of thousands of developers' feet wet in developing in their code that they like, C, I guess, what is it? What Objective-C or whatever they want, whatever they like the best. I don't know. I'm not a coder. I don't know. But now that they've got all these iOS developers used to this, used to the process, used to how it works, used to the approval process, used to following guidelines, they now have thousands and thousands of potential new developers for the Mac Store platform. And that, my friends, is the genius of the whole fucking thing. Brilliant. Fucking brilliant. So, just keep your eye on the Mac. I think a lot of Windows users are going to be reluctant to accept this. They're going to feel like Apple's taken their power away, but they're not going to understand that they're not losing anything as far as power is concerned or freedom. It's just a new paradigm. And when I look at the auto saves and the auto updates and the Mac App Store and the slick integration with its mobile phone, iOS and stuff, Windows 7 really looks like an archaic Stone Age operating system. What it does is pathetic. It does nothing for you. It just hinders you and encumbers you. My uncle's having to fix somebody else's computer because it's all ate up. Every time they open a browser, every time they fire it up, pop-ups go boom, 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 all over the place, and he can't fucking get rid of them to save his life. And he is a computer guy. He's worked on them for 25 years. For 20 years, he's been a computer technician, especially, you know, in moonlighting hours on the side. He said he fixed it once. Pop-ups would come all over the place. He went in there and he cleaned it out, which honestly, when that happens, you can't really clean it all out. It gets into the registry, and in order to clean it, you'd have to remove certain parts of the registry that would just break Windows. So you can't get it all, no matter what. And he said not 2 weeks later, the same person is bringing the same computer back with the same problem. Pop-ups all over the place. So people are stupid. And I'm not faulting them. It's just people are stupid and people don't learn. And people like that need a Mac because they just don't get it. They won't get it, and they don't pay attention. They're not going to pay attention. She's 80 years old, the woman is. Okay, so God bless her. I mean, I don't know what they expect her to do. Maybe she just don't get it. And this is why Windows is such an outdated concept, because it's so unsafe and so cumbersome that it's just not worth investing in anymore. So OS X Lion, the future of computers as we know it. Mark my words. Let's talk about the MacBook Air. 13-inch MacBook Air, I don't want to talk about that because they've had the 13-inch MacBook Air. What the? You know, I just noticed I had 2 sets of headphones on. Oh, shit. Anyway, what was I talking about? Fuck, the MacBook Air. I'm not going to talk about too much about the 13-inch Air. I want to talk about the 11-inch Air because that's the bad boy I'm getting. I'm going to get the stripped-down $9.99 version of the MacBook Air, and it will be like having an iPad on steroids when I go out. It'll be a little bit like having a laptop and a little bit like having a more powerful iPad. It's kind of a mixture of the two, and I think this is a wonderful concept because when I go out with a laptop, I've never needed the power of an i7 or even an i5. On my laptop, I don't do serious work, and I know other people do. I'm not, you know, if you do serious work on your laptop, the MacBook Air is not for you, okay? But for me, for what I do when I'm on the go, I can't see a better machine. This 11-inch laptop, Jesus, it don't even weigh a pound more than an iPad. It weighs like 2.3 pounds. 2 pounds! A 2-pound laptop with a Core 2 Duo in it that I can take to school or work. If I had to recommend a laptop to take to work or to take to school to just take notes on and do basic everyday stuff, an 11-inch MacBook Air is the ticket because it's instant on or instant wake. I'm sorry, don't be picky. As soon as you walk into class, instant on. It's got flash storage on the board, which is different than what most people do it. And I think it's the future of Mac laptops. I think you can take this laptop and you can apply what they've done to it to the MacBook Pro 13, 15, and 17. And when I look down the line and see a MacBook Pro 13, 15, and 17 with only flash storage, I think what a wonderful day that's going to be. What a wonderful day that's going to be when they can put all flash storage in there, which will eliminate weight and the heat and the noise of a hard drive, so they can make the MacBook Pro smaller. Okay? They can probably have to worry less with cooling because there's no big spinning platter inside there. They just stick the flash right on the motherboard, and that's it. They can remove the optical drive because optical drives are going obsolete. Now, like TechCrunch said, optical media will always be around for storage, you know, games, Blu-rays, consoles and stuff. But as far as buying applications on CDs and stuff, those days are gone. That's what the Mac App Store is for. They give us an alternative. They didn't just say we killed the CD player. They've actually given us an alternative. Okay? They didn't say we're taking the CD player away from you and fuck you, you ain't got no options. You know, they're going to give us some options. And if you think about the infrastructure that's had to have been laid for this Mac App Store, where they can take these downloads and store these apps and have people download them, and I'm sure we know what the server farm was for now, but what I'm saying is the infrastructure and back end to this had to be an unbelievable undertaking, an unbelievably daunting task, and Apple's going to have it ready in 90 days. You see, they've got all their back end, they've got everything ready to go, and it's going to be ready in 90 days. No way could anybody else pull this off. No way, because nobody else has the infrastructure to get this shit together this fast. And like I said, Apple's supply chain is so locked down that they have such a big that it gives them such a big advantage over everybody else. It's pathetic. It really is pathetic. There's a reason why nobody else really has any 10-inch slates or tablets out yet. You know, because Apple has that locked down. I'm telling you, boys. I'm telling you. And the MacBook Air, lying. Both of these. Can you imagine the MacBook Pro 13-inch if you could remove a hard drive and remove the optical drive? Can you imagine how much more space they would have if they wanted to add more options or a more powerful CPU? Or they could not add any of that stuff and just make it thinner and lighter. Okay, so this event, people went into this event saying it's not going to matter to investors. Bullshit. They just gave us a roadmap of what they're going to be doing the next 5 to 10 years. And I think it's beautifully laid out, beautifully executed. And people's going to call me an Apple fanboy, but I swear to God, every time they get on stage, they fucking impress me and they surprise me, and I'm a happy guy when it's over. Every single time. What other tech company does that? What other tech company innovates and releases as many products as Apple does? New laptops, new technologies, new desktop paradigms, new operating systems. It is unbelievable how hard those guys at Cupertino must be working. Unfucking believable, and even you Windows guys have to admit that. The way that they're knocking stuff out, it's just unbelievable. You got to give them kudos. Good job, Apple. I mean, what else can I say besides you've impressed me yet again? I can't wait till next year. Thanks a million. Stock's at $310 a share. What more could we ask Apple to do for its consumers? Nothing. They've done more for me and consumers than any other tech company has, as far as I'm concerned. You may not like some of their rules. You may think they're a little bullish or pricky, but you know what? They're treating their customers right. Their customers are happy, and people are still buying their shit, and they're buying them more and more and more, and there's a reason for that. You can deny it. You can think of excuses all you want. You can say bullshit like people buy Apple products no matter what. No matter what. You ask Steve Jobs could release a fucking turd and people would sell 1 million copies. And that's not right at all. The only reason they sell the way they sell is because they are good products. Look at the Apple TV. 99 bucks. Has it sold 5 million copies just because it's an Apple product? No. They sold like 250,000 of them. You know, which is a big number for what that is, but they ain't flying out of the shelves like the iPad. You know, and y'all said the only reason people buy the iPad is because Apple could put out a turd and they'd buy it. You know, it's all bullshit. Y'all think of these excuses, and that's exactly what they are. They're just excuses. So please, come on, welcome. We welcome you. Come over to the Apple Street. Cross over. Come on over. I promise you won't be disappointed. I promise. We'll have you with open arms. You know, don't let your pride get in the way and say, well, I can't switch now after I've been so anti-Apple. Bullshit. Switch and do what's right for you. And you'll never know what's right for you until you fucking try. That's all I can say. So, can't wait, Apple, till next year and all this shit starts hitting the shelves. I'm excited as I can be, and I'll probably do a video on iLife here in a few weeks when I order it and get it. So, thanks a lot, guys. OS 10, brothers. You know what? What am I going to do when they move away from OS 10? When it goes to OS 11 or just goes to iOS desktop? I don't guess I'm gonna have any more OS 10, am I? Well, you know, it's been good while it lasted. OS 10, brothers.